Good evening and welcome to the Marriage Corner. We are so glad to be back on live from Charleston. You can find us on Facebook Live or on YouTube. But we took a couple of weeks break because there's been so much going on, just really, in the country and just all around us. And not that has slowed down, but we did take a couple of weeks break. But we are back and we want to let you know just how much we appreciate all your encouragement. Thank you for all your texts, for all your cards, and for all your messages. So we are
gifts.
Yeah, no. Well, but thank you. We are really encouraged to hear from all of you around the world. So go ahead at this time and go ahead and share. Hit your share button.
That's what I was doing.
Good, that's awesome.
Sharing, because sharing is caring.
But and we appreciate any input, so please feel free to go ahead and comment. Just give us great input. Yes, that's encouraging. But we are glad to have you with us.
Great. I agree with Ange. It's great to be back together. And basically, we needed a couple weeks to go do some different things so we get some new material. So tonight we're going to be talking about being married with children. Love and marriage. So we went and had some children and raised them in 2 weeks. And now we're back together. I want to start off with a question tonight. And let me see if I can figure all this out here. The question is... It's a very, very important, significant question. Would you rather fight all the time but have great make-up sex, or never fight and have mediocre sex?
That's an interesting question.
What a dilemma we have here. Would you rather fight all the time but have great make-up sex, or never fight ever and have mediocre sex? So let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what happens in your life and in your marriage in that way.
So, honey, I was thinking, I should ask Chloe what he thinks. But I thought, no, I don't even have to ask you. I know exactly what you would answer. Because, you know why?
Why?
Because we never do anything mediocre in our life, except cooking. We kind of are mediocre when it comes to cooking.
You're a great cook.
No, you must really be blinded, honey. But yes. So
nobody has answered yet. Nobody's brave enough to
I think
answer.
it takes a lot of courage to answer this question. But it certainly is a fun question.
But it'd be a bummer to fight all the time.
Dana Simpson said to never fight. Well, and that would be nice to never fight, but then the mediocre sex, not really.
One more time.
Not really. Let's stick with the mediocre cooking.
That's not part of the question.
Oh, Toby said fight.
Toby, ready to fight all the time.
Matt said all the time. All the time what, Matt? All the time fighting or all the time never fighting?
That's an excellent answer, Matt.
Crystal said fighting. Okay.
Crystal.
Yes.
There is no right or wrong answer. Okay.
No, there's no not at all. We're just telling you what we would do. Because there's, again, nothing mediocre in our life.
Because I did want to say before we dive in here, I'm wearing a hat. I got a big bump on my head over here, somewhere over there. So
yeah, you should turn around so,
they
can look at it.
I don't want to do that. But I was working out and my machine broke on my workout and attacked me and cut my head. So anyway.
I think he needs stitches, but he didn't want stitches. I put butterfly stitches on it, but blood still kept coming out. So now he has this big Band-Aid thingy on his head.
Doing my Jimbos are.
Yes, but before we get started, Lo, actually I wanted to ask you something, because here we are looking at the camera, right?
Yes,
and
we are.
I've got to admit I'm distracted.
Yeah.
Because
doesn't surprise me.
Because yesterday I cut my own bangs, and I'm noticing just how uneven they are. Did you notice I cut my bangs?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're uneven, aren't they?
They look great.
No, they're uneven, and they're really distracting me.
Check out my
So
bangs.
I'm sorry. And you know what happened? I cut them yesterday. And then yesterday I was viewing this class that I taught, and I noticed, like, man, they are really uneven. So today I thought I would try to even them because, you know, I know you love to look into my adoring eyes.
I do.
Yeah, I know that. So I thought, let me cut them so you can look into them. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, you look like the dog.
Yeah.
His hair hangs down for us.
I know, our dog, poor guy, he barely sees. So anyway, I got them cut. I got them trimmed again today, but I didn't do a good job. So,
Great.
but I don't know if you noticed, I got my bangs cut.
I have to be honest.
You didn't notice.
I don't. They look great either way.
That's so disappointing. So, we are going to move on to our lesson for today. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how to not neglect your marriage when you have kids. When you have kids at home, or when you have kids out of the house, or when you want to one day have kids. So this applies to all of you. Do not tune out. You know, with COVID-19, parents have been spending a lot of time with their kids.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and most, if not all parents, will say that they've actually never spent so much time with their kids.
Wow.
Yeah. During our lock-in days, parents have spent months of uninterrupted time together with their kids, just balancing the stress of working from home and becoming teachers to their children, entertaining them every moment they are bored, breaking up sibling fights, teaching their kids how licking their hands is no longer a good way to clean and sanitize them.
Really?
Yes, and now that the academic school year has come to an end, and many camps sadly remain closed, especially in our state of South Carolina, because COVID cases have kind of spiked up again. Very sad. But because of that, the blessing of having more time with your children is going to keep pouring in. And I found some pictures, Lo, that I wanted to show.
Really?
Of what some parents, have reported. It has how life really has been looking like from home. So I thought we could share these. There we go. This is what parents have said is the new view from their office. Yes. These are some SOS messages that parents have been putting out there, even on their driveway. And kids are truly honest. This is a letter that is written by one of the kids.
Oh, back in March, goodness.
Yes, back in March, and he wrote, "It is not going good. My mom is getting stressed out. My mom is really getting confused. We took a break so my mom can figure the stuff out. And I'm telling you, it is not going good." Truly, kids are honest. Here's a picture of what it's like for some parents working from home.
Where's my son? Oh, it's on my head. He doesn't need a hat.
And here's our last pictures of how kids contribute to important Zoom work meetings. So yes, it definitely has been interesting to be home so much with our children.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, let's be honest, children are wonderful.
Yes, always.
Always, but there's a but coming.
Uh-oh,
Yes.
not a big but.
But children and COVID, well, no, let's be even more honest. Children, period, make it challenging to find time for yourself and for your marriage.
That's true.
Let's face it, it's been tough even for some pets to have the kids home all the time.
The pets are
Yeah,
bothering.
you know what I was reading? I was reading that there have been more dog bites reported since COVID started than any other time.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah, who would ever have thought that? It's been tough for pets as well. So imagine
pets.
for parents. So
There's been more parent bites.
Okay, let's move on. So we know that expectations today run really high on parents because it's really not enough to just raise a great kid, but the kids have to do well academically. They have to be involved in arts and athletic activities. And poor moms and dads, they're just exhausted trying to keep up with their kids and running them everywhere. And, you know, there's just so much pressure on parents to be involved in their kids' life. And when life gets busy, gets this busy, you know, it's tempting to cut some corners, like pushing aside time with your spouse so that you can focus on your family. And even though we know that one of the major components of strengthening our marriage team is to make sure we spend more time together as spouses, this doesn't always happen. And okay, I know you parents out there, you're probably talking between you and you're already coming up with a list of excuses how, yeah, that would be great, but there is no way you can make this happen. There's no way you can find the time to spend together. And it's not just the time, it's the time of work, it's the money, it's the childcare. I know that's what you are thinking, but we are here to tell you that it can be done. Healthy couples don't find the time to be together. They make the time to be together. You have to be convinced yourself that you simply don't, if you have to convince yourself, that you simply don't have enough time to schedule, during the day to schedule time for each other, then you're not accurate. If you are intentional about spending time together as a couple, you will find it. Hear me on that. You will find it. You have the time to do whatever you want to do. And really, if you don't find the time to spend with your spouse, you're going to find the time to spend it doing something less important. Not that our children are less important. No, but they shouldn't be our top priority. You know, well-meaning kids think, hey, after the kids are gone, we'll get to be a couple again.
And parents.
Yeah, parents. What did I say?
Kids.
Oh, yeah, not kids. Though kids do dream of when they are gone. But no, parents. Parents think that, man, when the kids are gone, we're going to have such great quality time together. We're going to spend so much time together. But really, by the time the kids are off to college, first of all, you are worn out. You don't have any energy left. And then also so much distance has crept in your life that you hardly feel like you know each other. And for so many couples, even divorce at the point seems to be so much more appealing. When the kids are grown and gone, you don't want to just get to the point when you realize that, wow, we don't know each other. But also, it's so important for kids to know that not only do we love them, but we also love each other. And kids need to see that. Their sense of security grows when they see that, wow, our parents really love each other. Our parents are in love with each other. And that's important because if kids don't feel secure in the family, if kids don't feel secure when they look at your marriage, their whole world is going to unravel. And no amount of baseball and dance lessons and piano lessons and basketball lessons is going to make up for that kind of loss. So to put your marriage on hold for 18 years, or even for 1 year for that matter, while you raise your children, is not only detrimental to your marriage, but it's also devastating to your children. If you think that you are doing the best for your child when you put your spouse on the back burner and your kids as number one, you had better think again. You are very much mistaken. If you're always pushing your spouse aside to make time for the kids, you might also have to consider, what are you teaching your kids? What kind of message are you giving your children? So I have a couple of scriptures I wanted to show.
Great.
Yes.
Let's look at them. I like
In Genesis chapter 2, really the same scripture is shown in Genesis 2, in Mark 10, in Ephesians 5, and they all say the same thing. In Genesis 2, this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. All the scriptures say the same thing, and you wonder, why would God have that in the Bible 3 times? It's got to be really important. And really the message that God is giving us is, look, one day your kids are gonna leave the house.
Yeah.
And when they leave, they need to cut that umbilical cord. They don't need to be attached to you anymore. They need to completely leave, and you will be alone. And really, as parents, that needs to be our goal.
Yeah,
we need to
that's
constantly be teaching our kids to be independent. To learn how to live alone, to learn how to leave at one point and not still remain attached to us. It teaches our children that marriage has to be the number one human relationship. We want our children to know that one day they are going to look forward to having the same relationship with another human being on the earth that's going to last forever. They need to understand that they too will have a great relationship with someone. They will have a lot of fun, that they will love it, and that it will be a priority to them. I still remember how one time we were talking to our kids and we were kind of asking the question. Our kids were a lot younger. I don't know if you remember this, honey, but they were a lot younger, and we said, you know, who do you love the most in the world? We were kind of kidding around with them. We were thinking they're going to say mom or dad, or, you know, we really wanted them to say God. We were kind of trying to teach them to understand that God is who you need to love the most.
Yes.
And I still remember our kids, unfortunately, they didn't say God. They didn't know where we're going with it. But they go, oh, Mom, we know that you are going to say Dad. You're not going to say us. And Dad, we know that you're going to say Mom. You're not going to say us. We know that you guys love each other the most. And even though it wasn't the answer we were exactly looking for, but it was so encouraging to know that our children could see that. Recently, right before COVID, we went to visit our daughter and son-in-law, and we're trying to make arrangements, you know, what time we're going to get there and everything. And we said, oh, we'll be there around 5 o'clock probably. And our daughter goes, oh, why don't you make that 6? Because Josh comes at 5 and I want to spend some quality time with him when he comes from work before you guys come. And I was thinking, wow, we're driving for almost 4 hours to see you. But I was so encouraged to know that that's how she felt, just how important it was for her to connect with her husband.
Amen.
Your turn, honey.
Appreciate that, hon. Those were great, great things. I can't wait to put those into practice. Really, I think it is true that, you know, our kids are meant to leave and cleave, and they will. And our relationship with each other has got to be built. It's got to be something that we've been working on and building for a long time. We absolutely love our children. We praise God and are thankful for them, and have tried in every possible way, and we still do, to love them and to let them know we love them, to let them know that God loves them, and we're devoted to them. But as Angie shared, they're all out of the house, and we are thankful that we've striven to build a great relationship over the years. When we get married, think about this. One thing we talk about, usually at weddings, we talk about it biblically, is that we're to become one. We get unified. That we complete the whole, that now we're together and we're one. We talk about bringing two single lives together and now working as one unit, a team together. And that takes effort, that takes time. It's not on that wedding day. I'd love to say it was. It takes time and effort and working at it.
It took us about 3 days, I think.
Yeah, 3 days. And to the Lord 1,000 years. No. But we have to work at it. But then we bring in a third little gem into the mix. And maybe a fourth, maybe a fifth, as we did.
Sixth.
3 children, 2 of us. Maybe even bring in 6. Or maybe 18, I don't know why, but you'd really like to have a lot. And the thing is, unity gets more challenging. And our family, like any other unit, needs to be unified. The Bible says in Psalm 133, how good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. Hopefully we're God's people. It's like precious oil poured on the head, running down on the beard, running down on Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is as if the dew of Hermon were falling on Mount Zion. Now, we're not Jewish, but we can understand that those images at some level. And the idea is, man, it is something special. It's a special anointing when you're unified. It takes the power of God. It is like rain coming, the dew coming, and for someone who lives in the Middle East, rain and dew was extremely, extremely important. It was about growth. It was a blessing of God. Unity in our family is a blessing from God. We need to keep it, but it's challenging. Well, what am I talking about? Am I talking about that one day our beautiful little cherubs will grow up, rise up, and cause a rebellion and take over the family, and we come home one day and they've changed the locks? Maybe, I hope not, but we're not talking about division. It can get bad, but it can be subtle and in different ways. Talking about the children getting between us, coming maybe literally between us.
Oh yeah, I'm remembering, honey. Do you remember? So we used to give our kids. No, we used to give hugs. We used to. No, we used to hug. So Lo would come over, or I'd go over him, and we'd hug in the living room or whatever. And they always used to think it was a group hug. All 3 kids would rush in, but they wouldn't just hug us from the outside. No, they would go in between our legs and squeeze in and get
2 of us
right in the middle until we're far away from each other. All 3 of them.
So maybe they literally divide us. No, that was fun, and we had a great time. But
yeah.
But there's also a side to that I think is true, that the children can come between parents. It happens more than we know. It can be subtle. It can be obvious, but usually it's a little more subtle, where they're pulling the parents apart or to one side or the other. Before we look at 2 areas where I think this can happen, I want us to read one important passage for all of us to consider. Jesus said in Matthew 12, verse 25, Jesus knew their thoughts and said to them, every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. Every household divided against itself will not stand. It is extremely, extremely important that you and your spouse stay unified.
Yeah.
Well, how can having children, why would that divide us? Well, hopefully it doesn't. It should unite us. It should bring us together in our love and raising them. And in most ways it does, but sometimes, like we shared, the first thing is the children can come between us. Kids are smart in general. Whether consciously or unknowingly, kids will come between and divide mom and dad. One parent is usually the easygoing, whatever, do whatever, eat whatever, it's over there in the cupboard, The other one, the more sentimental one, then the other one is no, not before dinner. Then there's one, eat all your meal. Well, just take a couple bites and then you're done. The other one's like, no, everything must be off the table.
Yes, that's definitely us.
We've been there.
In case you're wondering.
But the children will play you against one another. Children will wait until the parents, till we're apart in different rooms or different places, or taking a little drive, or one's in the backyard. And they can be little and do this. And they don't always know they're doing it, but they'll slowly, lovingly, huggingly slide on up to that yes parent. And they'll be like, Daddy, whatever it may be. And they're asking, and it can cause a little wedge. You go, well, that's not division. It can little by little erode and divide a marriage. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the spouse. Remember, any household divided against itself will not stand. And it doesn't start with a massive earthquake that rips a canyon in your marriage. It starts with just little creases, and then it gets wider and wider. I'm not trying to say which is the best parenting style or which isn't. We're not talking about parenting right now. We're talking about being married with children. What should our marriage be like? We're not talking about parenting yet. Children will work their tears. They'll work their eyes, their hugs, their sighs. Almost whatever they need to get what they want. Can you really blame them? I mean, they're trying.
If it works.
If it works. And at times, they can divide. They can steal the affection of one. They can cause problems and ripples between parents. My daughter, if she seemed hurt, her feelings were hurt. If she was down, or I felt like Angie was treating her wrong, then I'd have to come to her rescue. We also have a young son who, if he was sad and rolled his eyes, then Angie would come to his rescue, and we had to learn we're going to be united. So one is, without knowing, I'm not saying they consciously do it, although they might, our children can subtly divide us. Secondly, how can a household be divided, husband and wife, in how we raise our children can divide us. Our styles. Angie and I have had our biggest arguments about how we raise our children.
Yes.
And I say arguments. I didn't say bumps.
Yes, I agree.
We've gotten the maddest, the angriest, the hurt. Had to work through it. We didn't give up on that. That's part of overcoming it. But why? Well, we both come from radically different childhoods and even cultures. We were raised differently. My parents were more laissez-faire type. Laissez-faire means let it happen. What happens, happens, They had boundaries. They had some expectations, but they weren't super involved in every area or even a lot of aspects of my life. Angie's parents were way more involved in most, if not every area of her life. Mine were laissez-faire. Hers were in some ways maybe a little bit more helicopter parents. And that's how we were raised. And we didn't rebel against those. That's actually how our parenting styles. That's how we look at life. That's the lens. My parents weren't super strict, while Angie's were. I'd say, hey, I'm heading out, I'm 10 years old, out to play with the guys. They'd say, okay, be back for breakfast tomorrow. They didn't say that. It wasn't that bad. But Angie's were much more strict. And again, I'm not saying which is better, which is worse. My parents, honestly, were fine with B's. Angie's parents had high expectations and called her to that. We come from different cultures. I love, if you don't know, most of you know this, but if you don't know, Angie's from a little island in the Mediterranean. And I remember being there, and we lived there for a while, and we go there a lot. But I remember being there once, and my kids were playing on the playground, and there was one little boy, bless his heart. But he was so annoying, and he was annoying with the other kids. He'd grab the swing from them when they would go to sit down, and I was trying to say, no. And he did this for a little while, and then Mom walked up and grabbed him by the arm, looked him in the eye, wagged her finger at him, and gave him some rough Maltese words. And he just calmed down and was nice and kind of went over to the side for a little while. I'm like, wow, finally his mom stepped in.
You sure it was mom and not the neighbor?
What I realized, it wasn't his mom.
Okay.
It wasn't his mom, and it's just, they get involved. They don't care who it is.
It was probably
someone.
Yeah. Someone he probably didn't even know.
Passing by. Again, which parenting is best? Well, here's the problem. All of us in our core in these areas think our parenting style is best.
Right? It is, yeah.
Exactly, it is. Can't fight on screen. It is good sometimes to give our kids some space to develop and grow and to not be involved. But it's also good to care about what they're doing and where they're going, to have some healthy expectations. Mm-hmm. The challenge is we all think our parenting style is perfect. And if someone goes a little bit far to the other edge, we think they're going way out. And, you're being too hard. Well, you're not stepping up and doing something. I'm sorry, replaying one of our arguments. And it goes back and forth. What happens? Well, at times it can lead to division. We're not talking about some arguments. It means we give up and we get divided and angry, and it begins to divide our hearts. I'm going to come back in a few minutes and talk about some practicals, how to prevent this.
Yes, so I was going to bring up some practicals that will help us connect and help us as married couples just even put our marriage as a priority. One of the practicals is to communicate and to connect during the day as much as possible, to just really stay connected, whether it's through phone calls or through text during the day, or something that Lo and I tend to do that really helps us is that when we are coming home at the end of the day is to just really call each other on the phone and to talk while we are driving and while we are on our way home, and we talk about our day and what happened, and that way it helps so that when we come home, we don't immediately dive into, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what happened. You're not going to believe what one of the kids did or said. So we get that all out of the way before we get home. And then when we get home, we're just really glad to see each other and be more loving towards each other and spend some great quality time together. That has really helped us. It also helps us to do things that we need to do together, whether it's doing the dishes or folding laundry together. When the kids are younger, just we used to do this every single day, put them in the stroller and go for a walk, and we would just talk and or just even take them.
Double stroller.
Yeah, we had double stroller, and our daughter would stand on the back of one of the stroller, and they would have a great time, and we would just spend time talking and catching up, and that was just really great. Another practical is to set the bedtimes for your kids and to be consistent with those bedtimes and to hold them, because that will allow you to have time to unwind together and even just be able to meet each other's needs and talk and meet each other's needs. So we definitely found that to be very helpful, and we also have always gone to bed at the same time. Now we might stay in bed and talk and read or watch a movie or something, but we will always go to bed at the same time. That has been very helpful.
Strict on that.
Yes, we're very strict about that. Also, it's important to spend great romantic quality time together. Date nights to us have been sacred for many years, for decades. Our kids have always known since they were really young that nobody and nothing interrupts our date times, our date nights. We used to work super hard at finding babysitters, weeks and even months ahead. We would have them lined up every week, every Friday, who was going to come and watch our kids. And money was never an excuse. If we didn't have money, we just did stuff where no money was involved. But we always had a great time together. And even now, it's so funny. Our kids just know, oh, you're on a date tonight. We can't call mom and dad. They're on a date. We can't call them. We can't talk to them till they come back. They know that. Something that we also did, which was so amazing when we had younger kids, and even now that we don't have kids, it's to go away often. The younger our kids were, the more often we went away. We kind of made it, I don't know, just like a promise to each other that we would go away every 6 weeks. And yes, it took a lot of work to have people we trusted come and watch our kids. And yes, we had to watch our budget and put money aside, but we made it happen. And they are some of the best memories we've ever had. Like Lo said, we love our kids. We can't wait to see them and spend time with them. But it helped us be so much more refreshed. And we were able to go back home then and give to our kids. And we used to have just great times together. And we, you know, when we didn't have money, we even took food from our house with us. And when we had money, we just really splurged. But we enjoyed it.
We took food from our house.
Most of the time, we took food. Sometimes we would stop at Subway on the way and take sandwiches with us. So we've done that. But I don't know if you remember, honey, there was this one time when we were living in Philadelphia and we went away for the weekend in Philadelphia.
We used to do that consistently.
Yes. And it was winter time and it snowed unexpectedly. It wasn't in the forecast to snow.
That, the massive traffic jams.
Yes. So we woke up the morning we were supposed to leave and we just couldn't leave. We couldn't leave our hotel to get back home. And we had to call our babysitter and we had to go, oh, we're sorry, we are stranded. And so are you at our house. So maybe we'll come tomorrow. Maybe it will be the next day. We are so sorry. But I remember that was like such a high five moment. Like we were so fired up. Yes. And when we went back, we were so much more refreshed. We could give to our kids so much more. So, yes, things happen when you go away, parents. Like even when you go on vacations. It is great to have vacations with your kids. It is great to have vacations with your family. But you also need to have vacations alone. As spouses, together, alone. Not with your kids, not with your parents, not with your sibling, not with your best friends. Just alone, the two of you. And yes, stuff happens. I mean, I remember one time we were in Jamaica. Remember, hon? We get a call from the emergency room that our daughter needed stitches at the back of her head because
glue. They used glue.
They glued it or something because she was jumping up and down on the bed and she fell, whatever. And another time we were, remember, honey, in Toronto? Yes. And we had another call from the emergency room because she put a pebble up her nose and they needed permission to get in there and get this pebble out of her nose.
Go get it.
Yes. And then another time, I don't know where we were, but she fell at school and needed stitches on her chin. Yes. Another time we were in Rome and our parents were watching our kids and they called to tell us that one of them had a very high fever and was very sick. So things happen, but it's okay. It's okay. We don't freak out. We just take a deep breath and we keep having fun and we pray for them.
Amen.
So anyway, hopefully those practicals have helped you.
Amen. Those are great. Forward to putting them into practice. I want to close out with a few practicals about staying unified as a married couple. Therefore, bringing your family together to be unified, your children with you. Like I said, different parenting styles, how you raise can lead to division, can lead to argument, or the children can weasel in there and argue. What do? You get help from others. When we think our way is always the right way, the best way, the perfect way, then we need to get outside help and outside objective eyes. We did this many times. It took a lot of time for us to talk through this. It wasn't easy. We didn't like it. I remember sometimes getting rebuked, even the way I thought. And I know Angie got challenged, but some of it was challenging.
Yeah, rebuked as well.
Our thinking and our way of doing things in order to get an objective point of view. Proverbs 12 verse 1 says, whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but whoever hates correction is stupid. Just love that passage because you get to say stupid out of the Bible. But anyway, the point is, you got to get help in your parenting styles. Or if you're feeling divided, or your children are, one of them feels like it's more important, or they're dividing you a little bit, get guidance, get help, open up, talk about it. Secondly, as far as keeping unity in our family, yes, we have different styles, very different, but we did not argue in front of our children.
Yes.
We've always presented a united front. Maybe it was through a fake smile and clenched teeth, but we didn't stay silent, even when we wanted to, or if Angie did stay silent sometimes if she needed to, or I needed to say something, then I would speak. We worked hard at creating a united front, making our children secure and happy. Otherwise, they feel unsure about the family. We were united. And finally, last practical is we compromised. You go, what? You compromise? Well, yeah, in these areas, some of these areas are more opinion and style. And we didn't compromise about when our kids turned 8, can they travel cross country by themselves? We're not talking about stupid things, but we're talking about our style of, okay, let's let them do a little bit more here. No, we need to be more strict and have higher expectation in these areas. I needed to compromise. Angie needed to compromise. It took a lot of work and effort and thoughts. If you just dig in your heels on every area thinking your way is always right, because otherwise your children will be permanently messed up, it can end up being more destructive to them, because then you're not unified.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I can let go, I can compromise some. I'm not saying everything in every area. God puts us together for a reason. Final verse here is Proverbs 18 verse 2 says, fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. If we're not willing to listen to others' ideas, thoughts, opinions, mainly our spouse, about how to raise our children, we're really hurting them and we're hurting ourselves and we're being a fool. What's the point? Well, the point is stay united. Let nothing divide you. Be one. Work at being one. You know, I think if to be honest and real, we'd say this was an ongoing thing that we kept working at, and then we'd have breakthroughs, we'd get closer, we'd have fights, and then we'd come back and we'd work at it. Some of you are way unified in these areas. Some of you think you are, but maybe you're really not. We want to encourage you to do your best to be one, to be unified, to make your marriage and your spouse the number one priority. Because one day, God willing, your children will go off and they'll marry and have another family. And yes, you'll spend phenomenal time with them. The relationship will change. It'll be great.
But you will also have so much fun.
That's true. And you're opening the door to have so much fun being alone together. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We love you guys.
Yes.
I hope
and
this has been helpful.
We'll see you again in 2 weeks' time.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Have a good night. Ciao.
Good night. Ciao.